month now, Thailand's capital, Bangkok, has been a sea of red as anti-government protesters known as the Red Shirts called for fresh elections. It's just another upheaval that has rocked this kingdom since 2006 when Thaksin Shinawatra was ousted as Prime Minister. I'm Fauzia Ibrahim. On this edition of 101 East, we ask, what will it take for political stability to return to Thailand?
The Songkran Festival is Thailand's traditional New Year, a time to pray for new beginnings. But this year, Thailand's destiny looks uncertain as the kingdom finds itself once again at a political crossroads. April 10th saw the country's worst street violence in almost 2 decades. Anti-government protesters, known as Red Shirts, held running battles with the military that left 23 people dead and over 800 injured. Tensions had been rising since early March when the Red Shirts marched on Bangkok, demanding Prime Minister Abhisit Vejjajiva dissolve parliament and hold fresh elections. The Red Shirts are mainly urban and rural poor, disillusioned with a system that they claim only benefits the privileged few. Bian Saotong is a 63-year-old farmer from the northeast who claims the Abhisit government ignores Thailand's rural people.
I joined the Red Shirts because I want to be part of the people power that returns this country to the real people. I don't care about not having any money or about living on the streets. I don't feel afraid or scared because if I did, I wouldn't be here. It's come to the point where it's death or nothing. There is no choice. I will fight with the people until democracy is returned to us.
It is this collective action that has recently crippled parts of Bangkok.
This is the heart of Bangkok's commercial and shopping district, and it's among all this affluence where the Red Shirts have set up camp, leading to the closure of luxury department stores and international hotels. Thailand's underprivileged have hit the elite where it hurts the most, with business losses running up to nearly $10 million a day. This is people power at its loudest.
Much of the Red Shirts campaign is focused on former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra. During his 5 years in power, Thaksin gained widespread support amongst Thailand's rural population for improving their healthcare, education and living standards. But Bangkok's elite class accused him of abusing his powers, corruption and worst, not respecting the monarchy. This group of royalists, businessmen and the middle class formed their own Yellow Shirts movement after the king's colours. Their protests brought the military coup that ended Thaksin's office. But fresh elections gave victory to Thaksin's allies, which again brought the Yellow Shirts out on the streets. The crippling protests and a court decision to ban the ruling party of the day paved the way for Thailand's oldest party, the Democrats, to form a coalition government. In 2008, Democrat Party leader Abhisit Vejjajiva was appointed Prime Minister with the backing of the military and judicial system. But the Red Shirts considered Abhisit's government illegitimate.
A lot of Thai middle class and elites who have very little understandings of the rural and urban poor are not willing to accept that this is something more than just about Thaksin. Many felt that their electoral rights have been stolen after the coup in 2006. In a way, Thaksin opened the Pandora box of the aspirations of the poor. They realized that they could actually choose their own politicians who could be more responsive than most of the rest of the Thai prime ministers in the modern history.
Feeling robbed by a political system that sidelines them, the Red Shirt movement is determined their electoral rights be respected.
We do want a genuine democratic system, and when they dissolve the House of Parliament, there will be a new election, and let the system going on, and let the system decide by itself.
Prime Minister Abhisit has continually refused to give in to the Red Shirts' demands.
The government is making it a priority to find a solution to the problem as soon as possible. In the meantime, I repeat my call to those who act against the law. The things that you do are unlawful and not acceptable, and your wrongdoing will not bring you success.
But the pressure against him is stronger than ever. On April 12th, the Election Commission recommended the Democrat Party be disbanded for misusing campaign funds. Some say the ruling was a means to pacify the red shirts' anger against the government. Others point to its timing as being evidence Thailand's independent bodies and judicial system can be tampered with, showing that the real power in Thailand is not necessarily held by the Prime Minister.
Some forces within the Privy Council, not all of them, some top brass within the military who took part in the military coup back in 2006, and also particularly forces, let's say, within the Constitutional Court and the Administrative Court, has the ability to somewhat but meddle with the process of thinking of the Election Commission members or the Constitutional Court.
And this political intervention is preventing democratic development in Thailand.
We need to move to the point where the Thai people are convinced that at the end of the day, you don't get forces within the Privy Council, you don't get forces within the army, and you don't get forces within the judiciary establishment that intervenes in, the process of who becomes Prime Minister.
And so it seems the current political upheaval goes beyond the personalities of Thaksin and Abhisit. Even with fresh elections, Thailand's political problems may not be solved. Many believe that it is only until the power of a small group of aristocratic elite is curtailed that Thailand has a chance at a new beginning. Coming up after the break, we hear from both sides of Thailand's political divide. Stay with 101 East.
Welcome back to 101 East. This week we come to you from Bangkok, Thailand, as we look at the recent upheavals that have once again torn this kingdom in two. Joining us now is the Deputy Leader of the Democrat Party, Kraisak Chunawan. So thank you very much for being with us today. Thailand has seen a series of demonstrations since the ousting of former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra in 2006. What do you think is the root of these cycles of protests?
It is because I would say the democratic process, if you like, has not been transparent enough or accommodating enough for the complexity of the society in itself. If you have Mr. Thaksin back, and if he does repeat what he has done in the past, namely enriching himself, taking a very brutal state position against drug dealers, against minorities, you will have demonstrations, like endless.
It just seems that in this country, when some people don't like the results of a democratic election, they protest.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. But
so does that mean that Thailand really cannot exercise true democracy here?
It seems to be that way. Since Mr. Abhisit became Prime Minister, relative peace has been established for the first 2 years until the court judgment against Mr. Thaksin's assets and corruption. Suddenly we found that Mr. Thaksin was very angry over this decision, and he somehow wanted to take over state power in order to use the state power to reverse this.
Let's look at Abhisit's government that's in power at the moment. It came to power in a questionable manner as well. Backroom negotiations with the military, after a coup, after judicial hearings. You can't truly say that the Democrat Party came to power through legitimate elections.
Of course
They were
it did.
not
I went through elections. What?
by the people.
No. You got it wrong. You got it completely wrong.
Then why are there so many people on the streets who want an end
you
to
falling for
this?
Why are they calling? Of the Red.
Why are
You
they
see?
calling
They
an
are calling
end to Abhisid's government?
because basically, Mr. Thaksin is putting all his force, okay, and his popularity right after the court decision. He was hoping the court would give some of his money back, and they did, and it did not make him happy. Now, what he calls for is a class warfare. Now, class warfare, it's a joke. A class warfare, and you people fell for it. You think all these people are in favor, were so in favor of Mr. Thaksin because Mr. Thaksin gave him so much. Yes, to a certain extent, but he gave himself so much more, and there was no real distribution at all as far as income distribution, asset distribution, doing really things for the poor. It was not there.
But it has
because
also,
nothing changed. You see,
it
nothing
has
changed.
also
Now,
opened up the eyes of these rural poor, the urban poor, that if they do elect the right person, this person will listen to them.
If you look at our government from the first day, the amount of money they spent on the poor is 3 times higher than Mr. Thaksin. 3 times higher. We have universal...
But they're not seeing the results.
Yeah, I know, but hear me out here. Mr. Thaksin has a much better organized on campaign, on a party level, on the Northeast. Now, we gave so much more to the poor than Mr. Thaksin. We have plans, for distribution of lands. We have plans to give back all the debts. We have, incredible plans. But the actual policy, which have benefited the poor, I think were much higher than Mr. Thaksin. We've had
with all these promises, all these plans, again, why are there people on the streets demanding an end to this government?
The main mistake was that Mr. Thaksin has allowed years and years to go on unaccountable budget spending on the local level. I think our mistake, to a certain extent, was to have this accountable, you see, and that every cent you spend should be spent on the needs, the real needs, and decisions made by the locals. Now, many of the local people who have been used to pillaging the budget for their own benefits, even using the budget for loans, for personal loans, etc., etc. This had to stop, and this caused a lot of discontentment. Thailand is governed by patronage. Now, if you don't make the local bosses happy, they will bring their thugs, their employees, etc., etc., up against you.
Let me then ask you, what do you think it will take in order for political stability to return to Thailand?
I think if the government decides to give amnesty and all the money back to Mr. Thaksin, that will completely stop.
Do you think there's a place for Mr. Thaksin in politics in Thailand?
It is impossible.
Why is that?
It is impossible. The government has to consider the other half of the over 10 or 12 million people who were against Mr. Thaksin, you see. And this is the problem. Now, if you have about 10 million people for Mr. Thaksin, that Mr. Thaksin can do anything, you see, and we have to forgive him. And you have another 10 million people who are against it. This government will not be faced with the Reds, but will be faced with even probably a much bigger demonstration if we were to consent to Mr. Thaksin's demand.
So thank you very much for speaking with us.
Yeah, most welcome.
Next, we hear from the former acting leader of Thaksin's Thai Rak Thai party. Joining us now is Jataran Chaiseng. He is the former Deputy Prime Minister under Thaksin Shinawatra. Kun Jataran, thank you very much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Let's try and get this clear. Are the red shirts fighting for democracy, or are the red shirts fighting for Thaksin Shinawatra to return as Prime Minister?
They are fighting for democracy. They are not demanding that Thaksin Shinawatra is coming back to become the Prime Minister. And actually, it's not possible for Thaksin to come back to become a Prime Minister for now or in the very near future. And the demand of the UDD is just one now, and that is to dissolve the House of Representatives.
Do you think the fresh elections would then end this stalemate?
For now.
What do you mean for
stalemate
now?
at the moment will be resolved because every side in the conflict will go to run in the election, in a free election.
Will the UDD coalition be happy with whatever results those elections
They have made it
happen to
clear.
come out with, even if the Democrat Party gets into power?
Right. They have made it very clear that even if the Democrats win in the election, they will accept that.
And we will stop seeing this cycle of demonstrations or protests
By them.
by
By the UDD.
by the red shirts.
By the red shirt.
They just want their electoral voice to be heard. Is that it?
Right. They want the Thai people, the majority of Thai people, to decide who should run the government.
Do you think Thai people actually understand what true democracy is? Every time there seems to be a result that people don't like from democratic elections that are fair and balanced, there's a demonstration.
Thai people, the majority of Thai people, definitely understand the meaning of democracy. The people, the UDD and the red shirt people, are not fighting against the government that was a result of an election.
We are talking about the red shirts here, though. But then we are also talking about the yellow shirts, who are just as much of Thailand as the red shirts are. And so the yellow shirts are not happy with the results from the elections that were held 2 years ago. And so they were fighting against that. There is a series of demonstrations, of protests that continue throughout Thailand that cripple this country, its economy. Why do you think there is this continual cycle of protests, of demonstrations, of unhappiness against whatever government that's in power?
There is a sort of a tradition or a logic that once there's a demonstration and if there is a violence, the government must be responsible for that. And as soon as the military does not support the government, that government cannot last.
Let me then just ask you this question. Who runs Thailand? Is it the military? Is it the person that is elected? Is it the people? Who runs Thailand?
In the past 3 years, 3.5 years, we can say the elite. The elite that has command over the army.
Who are these elite?
The elite who are those who have power, those who used to be in the bureaucrats, and those who had connection with the army, retired and then still around. They have control over the army, can have the army stage a coup, and can have all the lawmakers who are loyal to them draft the constitution, an undemocratic constitution, and then with that constitution and the mechanism in the constitution.
Are you suggesting Are you suggesting then that this elite group are the ones who hold the real power here in Thailand and not the Prime Minister?
In the past 4 years, until now, yes, instead of the Prime Minister. But the Prime Minister, any Prime Minister in the past 3 or 4 years do not really have power. This is the fact. And most Thai people know that.
And this is what we're seeing now, people power against this elite?
Right, exactly. And the people who are demonstrating, who are mobilizing, realize that.
If the red shirts succeed, fresh elections are called,
Yeah.
and the Democrats do get back into power, can you guarantee that there will not be any blood spilt on the streets of Bangkok?
I believe there will be no movement, no rally by the red shirts. I believe that.
They will accept that result.
Of course, they said that.
Okay.
They made it clear.
Despite the elite still being in power.
Right. But people will still demand for constitutional amendment.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be done through some political parties, through the election. After the election, the process of constitution amendment will take place. Thai people will be able to change the rule so that the elite will have less power. People will have more power. Election will be as meaningful as that in civilized country. The election in the past was meaningless. Let Thai people, the majority of Thai people, make a decision.
Kun Jataran, thank you very much for speaking with us.
Thank you.
And that's all the time we have for this edition of 101 East. From the team here in Bangkok, Thailand, thanks for watching.